Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back. It is time for another Starcraft 2 Robots cast. It has been a minute since we dove into the world of robots. Yet here we are about to see two bots that I haven't cast too much, which is gonna make things nice and fresh. I really don't know what to expect. And we're on the map Pillars of Gold. The bot that is Zerg in this match, which is cool. I don't think there's enough Zerg bots, is CreepMind. And in the bottom left, it's going to be whalemean. Mean whale. I don't think many whales have malicious intentions, except this one. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if you're glad that these Probot casts are back, make sure to go ahead and hit that like button. Let's try and go for 39 likes on this video. If we could do that, that would be truly amazing. And of course, if you're new to the channel, subscribe and make sure to hit that bell icon. I know for YouTubers who don't play to the algorithm perfectly, you kind of get slapped down. So a good way to avoid the YouTube algorithm just being like, nah dude, when I put up a video, is basically by hitting that bell icon so you get a little notification. And yeah, just gonna check. We had a bit of messages at the start of this game. This game, I will be using Burrow Rush V2, says CreepMind. Our last game I won with Burrow Rush V2. So, if the bots play identical to how they did last time, then that's what we'll be seeing a victory for CreepMind. And I mean, yeah, it's gonna be going for burrowed roaches, so that's cool. I always love those kind of builds. Bots with their unlimited APM are really strong. I think one of the first Probot games I ever cast was a burrowed roach play. And programming a response to that, I imagine, is a nightmare. Because, when the roaches don't move, that's tricky. When they do move, that's a nightmare, probably, to deal with. And so I think that's really cool to see. And, yeah, of course, we take a look. We see CreepMind giving us some info there. Creep coverage 3.6% of the map. Army prediction 0.2 versus 0 even. That's really interesting. How it has a prediction. Gosh, that is actually really interesting. Like, does it use some sort of algorithm to determine basic? I mean, because before it said that it hadn't actually seen what its opponent had. So I guess that was based off the time in the game or something like that. So yeah, and then of course there's the idea that you could have, once your bot does see opponent's units, you could have it basically count the units, sort of like counting cards, then fill in the blanks kind of thing to determine how it should play. Anyway though, we do have whalemean playing quite a response to this roach build. Going for marauders with concussive shells, I don't think there's a better build you could go for aside from blitzing a raven against roaches. Because these marauders and marines are actually going to move out onto the map. There's a chance they might get the roaches before Burrow is done. It's looking not too likely. Burrow is a matter of 6 seconds away. Concussive shell isn't yet done either. One of those roaches does actually go down. That's a huge victory there for whalemean. And as we take a look, this other roach is just trying to run away. If a marauder tags it, it's going to be in trouble. There'll be no escape there. And yeah, let's take a look. That Reaper leading the charge is actually really cool. The fact that it's doing an excellent job as an AI bait. It's just right on top of the roach. That is cool behavior there. The roach does burrow. Whalemean's going to have to react to this. Doesn't have any detection. It just dropped a mule, so no scans are free. But of course, at the same time, that doesn't actually mean that the roaches are going to be... it doesn't actually mean that the roaches are going to do phenomenal at defending, although they really are doing that. I mean, they're just microing back. They're uninjured. They retreat. They're doing pretty darn hot. We see CreepMind saying it's at a small disadvantage, but really none of its units should die based off its perfect micro. The marauders for whalemean have got the right idea here. I mean, they're definitely doing the right thing, but CreepMind saying, well, that must have hurt. And so, yeah, the roach is just unlimited burrow. It's literally perfect efficiency against 0 efficiency for whalemean. We'll take a look at whalemean's going to be nearing a scan anytime soon. It's at 45. Does it have the intelligence to scan, or quote-unquote intelligence to scan. Even if it does, there's just a lot of roaches here, as the Marauder count, of course, has been getting whittled down, whereas the roach count hasn't. There hasn't quite been a terrible snowball against whalemean yet, because the Marauder Michael is very good against the roaches. Is there energy for a scan yet? I'm not sure, and we actually did see a roach die there. That's probably in part due to the Marine's automatic fire, basically not taking them time to connect, unlike a Marauder projectile, I believe. Is there going to be a scan? No, it's just a meal from whalemean, so whalemean really has no proper response to this, to these burrowed roaches. The roaches are now actually engaging 5 Marines, which I imagine isn't going to go well for the Marines. The Marauders have now run into the Queens, but of course all these roaches under here are just burrowing and chilling. As a matter of fact, they're not actually unburrowing, so I wonder if that's a bit of a glitch in the behavior, because you'd think you'd want to be using those roaches non-stop, and it really should be. So a bit of a derp there from CreepMind, just having these roaches just chilling out, doing their thing. That lucky Marine wandering over there. And yeah, it seems that CreepMind has forgot about the roaches that it has. So there's definitely a glitch in its behavior, because if all those roaches unburrowed, that's like 8 roaches, 7 roaches, they could definitely have dealt with this by now. I feel in reality, though, CreepMind's in a lot of trouble, as drones are being forced to pull against this bioforce of whalemean. whalemean just microing back its units rather well. Stimpak's on the way for whalemean too. A Reaper grenade hits the drones, and CreepMind is taking huge losses. Army prediction, 14 versus 31. Clear disadvantage, says CreepMind. We are belligerent and numerous. It finally unburrows its roaches. I'm not sure what the trigger for that was, but it was certainly too late. So I'm quite concerned there. At least there was some redundancy for CreepMind, which the roaches weren't permanently stuck. However, whatever the behavior was that basically caused CreepMind to finally unburrow those roaches, maybe that needs to be looked at. Maybe it needs to make that call sooner, and then situations like that will be less prevalent in a sense. But yeah, CreepMind does hold on, loses drones. It's replacing the drones, so it's got smart behavior there to ensure that it's got the good enough economy. It's gone for a lair as well. No research from the lair, so no roach burrow movement, no +2 attack started yet, nothing that utilizes that lair. All the while behind this, whalemean, 3rd command center on the way, natural base is up and mining, no orbital command just yet. And we've yet to see if there really is any scanning behavior that'll help out whalemean. All in all, though, I think that the Terran AI is doing pretty good. These Marines moving out is a little bit ambitious. I wonder if that's one of those basically stim just run-by attempts that some bots have programmed. I think back to Gensi bot, which are rather effective. The whalemean going for one of these, but that is not the decision it wants to. It's hesitating now. It's pulling back. whalemean has spent most... Where did its money go? It had 1,000 resources. Starts up a starport. It's making a Banshee, a Marine. I feel that whalemean had more money. I really don't know where it went. Huh. Armory. Starport. Yeah, whalemean had 1,000 resources at some point. And yet it's not turning out a ton of units. Those Marines are going up the ramp. That's not going to work. There is a Banshee on the way, which of course is going to be really important for whalemean, as Banshees are pretty good against roaches. The Overseer is going to be getting picked off. CreepMind being a little bit happy to itself. Creep coverage percent is growing. We'll see how much that grows throughout this entire game. whalemean predicts that the army supply is even. I mean, doesn't get over-predict for whalemean. Or CreepMind overpredicts whalemean's army supply, which is fair, because it does seem that whalemean does have a little less supply than it should. The Terran bot's actually just transitioning into air. It's forgone the orbital commands, which is really interesting. I guess it just doesn't think that it needs the minerals or something. I mean, it's not like it's scanning, but then it won't need to scan soon since it's got Ravens on the way. And there's really no answer to this Banshee, so CreepMind in a rather rough spot as far as bot positions go. This has been an interesting game through and through, though, as whalemean does seem to be running away with this game. 4th command center on the way, good economy management. The lack of orbitals is something that I do find interesting. It might be because it's just prioritizing the heck out of gas, with gonna be going for mass air. Mass Ravens requires more gas than minerals. Maybe whoever programmed it has done the math that it doesn't need those. Okay, so now let's take a look here. Banshee still just working away on the roaches. The Viking having a bit of a derp from whalemean, set to hover over that base. Rather curious. I suppose that's maybe like an overlord killing mode or something like that. Roaches just being terrorized by this Banshee. As long as the Banshee micro's fine, could end up with a bajillion kills. The economy is going up for CreepMind a little bit. There's finally a Queen on the way at the natural, and there's a Spore to help deal with some of these air units, and it did build a Hydra Den in response to this. This is not looking too hot, though. These roaches will burrow, so that's a plus for them. Staying alive, staying alive. That's actually another notable thing, that CreepMind did actually not burrow some of the roaches against the Banshee. I wonder if that was because the Banshee fires a projectile one. Or no, that doesn't make sense, because it does fire a projectile. Yeah, so I don't know what the threat recognition needs to be for the roach to actually burrow to stay alive. The Raven's having a hard derp over this Spore Crawler. There's a derp from whalemean. Losing 2 Ravens that had a good amount of energy on them. Banshee's still doing work, utilizing its cloak, but man, this Spore Crawler racking up the kills due to the derpage of whalemean. And I'm honestly loving these 2 bots. There's a few little things that could maybe be tweaked with them, as we see. For example, how a Medivac and 2 Vikings are now flying over, but they do turn around, but then they go back in, but then they turn around. So yeah, I don't know if that's just a rally or something for all air units in general for whalemean. That seems to be the case, as these units are kind of mirroring the Banshee's movements. And so it makes me wonder, like, the Banshee, of course, runs into units to attack along the way, whereas the Vikings and Medivacs really don't. So they just sort of rally over the attack path. That would make sense. All the while, though, we do have yet another command center on the way for whalemean. Whalemean, richer than Bill Gates, needs to start spending its money. Still has yet to get any orbitals. I mean, it could be making that mad mule money, but if it's not spending its money at all, I find that interesting. And this does make me quite curious. Bots that have behavior like this, which they just build up a lot of resources. You think you'd want to make your bot micro or macro a little bit better. Some bots do have rather good macro, but some don't, and whalemean seems to be one of those. The Vikings, of course, will shoo away any overs here. They are going to be killing off some of those overlords. This is going to allow the cloaked Banshees to more or less have free reign. There's really nothing to detect them, really. So the queens are facing the wrath. A trickle of Hydras is on the way for CreepMind. There's even a Raven coming forward. It's not going to use its spell, though. It's going to fly right over that Spore Crawler since it ain't got nothing to do. So, yeah, a bit of derpage there still. And the Banshees just really terrorizing poor CreepMind. Creep coverage is growing. CreepMind says we're belligerent and numerous. Maybe. I guess. I wouldn't say so much numerous, anyway. 2-2 air weapons is on the way for whalemean, so at least this bot's getting the air upgrades, even though it's not spending all of its money. Could be making like 4 Banshees at a time. And it is finally getting up an extra starport, so it's going to be making more potentially. A reactor's on that one, actually. Got 2 tech labs. It is producing. CreepMind says we hunger for more blood. Interestingly enough, this game, the resources lost is actually rather close, so it does kind of make sense that CreepMind's like, yay, I'm killing stuff, even though it's in not the best situation. But then it's not as bad of a situation as it could be. For example, whalemean. Like, as a bot, it might be beneficial just if it made these a PF and threw up a turret, just for some defensive redundancy. That's, of course, one of those things which you got to think about. The more complicated a bot is, the less effective it might actually be in practicality. But yeah, whalemean kind of just mass expanding still, taking all the bases. CreepMind almost mined out in its main base. The natural base probably isn't even looking too hot for too long anyway, either. Although it's not looking awful. Surprisingly good for 13 minutes into the game. I don't know if that's because it wasn't getting mined that long into the game, which I guess probably is that. Banshee's actually getting worked on by the Hydras and Queens. Interestingly enough, the Banshee running away from the Hydra, finding some of the creep humors, killing them off. I wonder if that'll drop the creep coverage percentage. Raven gonna fly over, but does end up retreating, so there's some behavior there. The one Marine is just the real kicker here. The few Marines trickling out for whalemean is just the real kicker. I think if I was to make a bot, if I was to spend the numerous hours and the brain power that I may or may not have to program one of these bots, I think I'd probably want to program one that is not a trickle bot. There's a lot of bots out there, I guess it's probably a practicality thing, that trickle out units before they decide to go for an attack or whatever. I'd like to make a bot that basically just This builds a solid baseline before it does anything. Sort of like a Serral bot. Serral just defends until he can win. Of course, that's a gross overcomplication of it, and that was more or less Serral a couple of years ago, not so much these days. But, yeah, anyway. Yeah, the trickle for whalemean just really is interesting. Like, it could make... It has the resources for 80 Marines right now. 80 Marines would absolutely end this game. But then, of course, that's just not in practicality to have your bot change over system. But then, in reality, you could have it just like, oh, I've got so many resources, let me spend these. Yeah, anyway. Still a trickle of units on the way out for whalemean, but then again, if we look at it, whalemean hasn't actually gained ground. It has not done damage to CreepMind in ages. CreepMind's securing up another base. The Banshees are trading out decently. That's some negative trades, though, for whalemean. The upgrades are good. As whalemean's securing up yet another base, so it'll probably mine more than its share of resources on the map. And this game, at this rate, becomes one of the ones which you start to question the efficiency. With CreepMind securing up another base, you start to think that this game's going to go on a lot longer than it is. Just one Banshee on the way at a time, a Raven on the way, making Vikings, but no extra starports or anything on the way. No PFs, no engineering bay. Yeah. I mean, this is probably an anomaly for the behavior of whalemean. Like, you can probably bet that it either wins or loses a lot more games sooner than this. It's not every game which bots basically run headfirst into each other and seem to be evenly matched. Sort of like some Kamehamehas meeting each other or something like that. I don't know. I don't watch Dragon Ball Z. Not for about 20 years anyway. Let's take a look here. More Banshees on the way for whalemean. Army supply, it's actually down now. It's definitely got more bases, though, as it's securing up this location. If it made these planetaries, that would be awesome. CreepMind wants to expand, but it keeps running into bases that belong to whalemean. So it's just gonna say, alright, nope, never mind, I guess. It's not gonna attack those just yet. It might do at some point, as it's now rather close. So yeah, it is going to hit that base. That one's not going to get up. whalemean taking some harassment, but we will speed this one up a little bit as this trickle continues on. Looks like CreepMind has found this base. Will this base lift off as it's about to die? SCVs will not attempt to repair. The lacking behavior there. The base just dies. An immediate attempt at a rebuild from whalemean. That leaves behavior to be desired. Banshee's still doing their thing. Yeah, I think this game might go to CreepMind, as it's just got way better efficiency, and it has actually built up a bit of a significant army, whereas there's really nothing for whalemean. It's built up a little bit of bio. The Vikings clean out the overseers, but the Banshees can more or less kill everything. Well, all the Hydras anyway, assuming they've got energy for cloak, which looks like some of these do have a good amount of energy. There's going to be a lot of losses for whalemean in the meantime, though. So it's one of those odd situations. No more overseers are on the way for CreepMind either. Or there's one coming across. It does seem to have the behavior just to have the one overseer. Of course, that gets into the infinity complications things, which if you really wanted to, you could have your bot basically have a check, I suppose, to be like, oh, I will keep losing my overseers, make twice as many overseers. Or I keep losing units to cloak units, add more and more detection, kind of thing. So it's a lot more difficult than that in practicality, and it's for niche situations and niche games like this. Of course, that's not what it comes down to. And then it gets into the thing in which you reach the point in which, like, you can program every single little behavior you want, but then at some point someone's just going to come along with like with a neural net and just do machine learning and basically get all that behavior by itself. Okay, now let's take a look here. Okay. CreepMind just spamming out units. whalemean has gone up in supply a little bit. Most of it's just workers, though. Banshee's doing their thing. Yeah, this game seems to just be bit of a loop. Command center's getting killed off, not canceled notably. No surprise since there's no lift behavior either from whalemean. Banshee Micron doing its thing. The Overseer's getting killed off. So of course the Banshee gonna keep going to town, but there's simply too much Zerg at this point. And I think, yeah, whalemean, even though it pretty much had CreepMind against the ropes, shows a lack of depth in a sense. Which, I mean, of course, is understandable. It's not like we can expect these bots to be perfect. But yeah, just trickling out Vikings, Marines still. How many Marines have it lost? 139 Marines dead. That's quite a few. Gas income for whalemean is actually at 0. It stopped mining gas as it hit the 10,000 mark. We're now seeing more starports on the way. Okay, maybe there is a check or something for mass resources. Something kicked this bot off to be like, okay, I need to make more things. And now it starts firing up extra starports, but it's really short on minerals because it keeps trying to build infinity command centers that it's replacing. And it's making more and more SPVs to try and get to that magic 70 number, I believe. So, yeah. This looks pretty good for CreepMind. As another command center dies, I'm sure it'll replace that when it has the resources. It's got these starports, but it's still not making that many Banshees. I don't know. Banshee's actually doing okay. CreepMind up on supply, though. More and more Banshees are on the way, so maybe there's a chance. Maybe there's a chance as we see another base go down for whalemean. Banshees are doing work here on the Hydras. They are doing some pretty darn good work. +3 on the Banshees is no joke. They what, 3-shot Hydra lift? 4 shots. Yeah, 4 shots on a Hydra. The Roaches are doing whatever. Banshee's chilling in the main base as well. Just doing their thing. They're not actually engaging the Roaches yet. There's more and more Banshees on the way for whalemean. That being said, CreepMind has kept up with the unit production on a roaring economy, and so it seems to just be trading out pretty darn efficient. The Banshee's just microing back. Even though there's no really air threat. That would, of course, be another thing that you could program a bot to do, to see if there's actually any threat to the air units. Otherwise, just put them in kill mode, essentially. That's a lot of Banshees. Let's slow this one down. This is like 8 Banshees against Hydras. There's really no detection. So they are going to start slaughtering everything. The Hydras are just being replaced en masse. The Banshees, yeah, they're no joke here. whalemean trickling out Hydras. This could become a problem. Or, I mean, CreepMind trickling out Hydras. The Roaches are really doing their own thing. Destroying the economy of whalemean, but now we're actually going to be seeing damage getting done to CreepMind. I totally thought whalemean was done and out, but at some point it decided, you know what, now is the time. My moment has come to start building more actual units. And all of a sudden, made a good number of Banshees. It seems to be unstoppable, dare I say? I mean, these Hydras will do pretty good against Banshees, but there's actually a lot more Banshees. So even though some aren't close, they're trading out decently. CreepMind still keeping a high supply, though. A lot of it is Roaches, but they're still tearing through now all the production of whalemean. So that will probably be the nail in the coffin for whalemean as it loses most of its mining capacity. And oh my gosh, where'd all the Banshees go? There they are. They all came back to kill this one hatchery. Yeah. Yeah, Roaches doing their thing. whalemean doing its interesting thing. I do like how eventually it started making more units. Like, it seemed that it only started making more units when it started to get pushed back. Or, like, I don't know what that was. Why it took so long, but anyway. Really interesting game here from both these bots. whalemean is going to be moving forward with its Banshees. Gonna actually potentially start killing off Overlords, which could supply block CreepMind, prevent any rebuilding of units. Then it's gonna be on 8 Banshees to do a lot of work. However, Queens and Hydras are gonna be able to whittle these down into steam. And then once those are whittled down against, what's the Hydra count? 3, actually. Only 3. This could become real problematic, but then we take a look. There's no building lifting behavior from whalemean. So we could be looking at an elimination here as these command centers are not lifting off. The economy is gone. It's all on these Banshees, and they're just not acting quick enough at this point for whalemean. And so yeah, looks like CreepMind has got this one. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure to hit that like button as the roach blob continues to eat whalemean, as it's done pretty much this entire game, with very little reaction from whalemean. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, all that good stuff. I really enjoyed watching both these bots. They both seem quite unique, and they both showed a good game. The potential for these bots to get even better and go further is huge. So yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is LaughNgamez.